what I've noticed is there's no real end-to-end solution. So a lot of prop tech businesses aiming to solve part of the problem only, and really just agents left disillusioned, and which in turn leaves consumers disillusioned when it comes to how to find the information they need to determine whether it is selling their property, renting their property, and actually coming to market.
Hello and welcome. That's my guest for this week. That's Daniel Stre. More about Daniel in a moment. What's that saying? The more things change, the more they stay the same. Hello, I'm Kevin Turner and welcome to this week's Realty Talk show. Well, there is no doubt whatsoever that there's been a lot of changes in the last few decades in how we buy a family home, how we invest in property, or how we sell a property. Technology, of course, has played a very big part in shaping those changes. One thing that really hasn't changed, though, despite technology, is the significance of getting the right agent. Property marketing is a bit like fashion trends. It's forever evolving and ever changing. Likewise, agents are constantly looking for ways to stand out. The goal for every agent is to stand out so that they are called in for advice by any potential seller. Now, that scramble for self-promotion by agents can lead to confusion for a seller looking for the very best agent. Given that the selection of an agent is probably the most important decision a seller's going to have to make ahead of price and method of sale, it's great to hear that there is about to be a new holistic marketing platform for agents that's going to help sellers achieve that first critical step and eliminate false and misleading recommendations by agent finder type websites. More on that in just a moment with my guest for this week, Daniel Stre. Hey, if this is your first time with us, welcome. You're going to find us on all podcast players and through the Southern Cross Old Stereo Network. If you like the show, make sure you hit the subscribe button and help us continue to bring you the best guests each week. I'll be back in just a moment to kick off this week's show.
Successful property investment is a game of finance. Do you have the right team and the right game plan? Realty Talk is brought to you by Know How Property. More than mortgage brokers, Bushy Martin and his team of investment architects set you up with a sustainable strategy structured to lower your costs, tax, risk and stress while increasing your capacity for growth. Know How has helped over 1,900 homeowners and investors secure more than $800 million in property wealth. So get set to live more, work less, and live your legacy. Want to know how to invest in your freedom? Visit knowhowproperty.com.au. This is Realty Talk, powered by realty.com.au. I'm joined by Daniel Stre from Realty Media Group, and in my introduction to today's show, I touched on a new holistic marketing platform for agents that's going to connect buyers, sellers, and agents. And I guess more importantly, it allows for some direct interaction, communication on social media between all parties. Now, what that's going to do is dramatically help all of the agents profile themselves so that there's no third party in the middle. They're dealing directly with you as a buyer or you as a seller. It's going to give them the opportunity then to, I guess, profile themselves fairly and honestly, instead of consumers being recommended agents who actually pay for the privilege. And that's what happens currently with agent recommendation sites. So this is going to be a little bit different. They've taken a different stance on this, and I think it's great. So I want to dig a little deeper into this, and Daniel Stre from Realty Media Group joins me. Daniel, thanks for your time.
Thanks. Great to be here, Kevin.
Just a disclaimer to start with. Of course, Realty Media Group, one of the sponsors of our show, they are one of our supporters, and that's why we know a little bit more about this in its pre-launch stage. So I'm just keen to dig a little bit more into this, Daniel. So I just wanted to get that disclosure up front. Tell me about the frustrations and the challenges that have led to this development, and why do you think it's necessary for this to happen?
Yeah, look, I think it's important in the fragmented digital landscape that we all operate in. And this is from an agent's perspective and a consumer's perspective, trying to find what's actually going to add value and help someone transact in real estate are, I think, really big challenges for all parties involved when it comes to real estate. So what I've seen over my years as an agent and now sort of working within the PropTech space with Realty Media Group in particular is that there's a real opportunity for us to both help an agent put their best foot forward when it comes to their digital presence online. And ideally, what I've noticed is there's no real end-to-end solution. So a lot of PropTech businesses aiming to solve part of the problem only, and really just agents left disillusioned, and which in turn leaves consumers disillusioned when it comes to how to find the information they need to determine whether it is selling their property, renting their property, and actually coming to market. So there's a lot of resistance, hesitation to jump out and reach out to an agent because you just don't know what to believe.
Yeah, well, I think that's the point I was making at the start there too about, honestly being able to assess agents rather than what they tell you, because agents are really good at selling themselves, but the proof's in the pudding. If social media, other interesting point here too, Daniel, I think is with social media, we've now got the opportunity to know a lot more about people, a lot more about agents, and see how they're interacting, how they're communicating. So in effect, someone is likely to have an agent who they've decided to list with, who they may never have met.
Yeah, they feel like they know them. I think it's about building that digital trust over time. So that reach and frequency that you can sort of deliver through the digital space. It's a bit like the old newspaper where people used to open up and see consistently every week that brand, that business in front of an audience. Digital is the same. And I think agents have been treating it a bit differently. They sort of dip their toe into social and they don't necessarily then create that behavior and consistency with everything they do. So agents that are doing it extremely well are being rewarded because consumers do engage, trust, and when they bring them into their living room, as you said, have done the research and homework. So now they're almost just sort of ticking a couple of boxes to make sure they feel comfortable to move forward with them. So you're spot on. It's important that they can use these tools to build their presence, their profile, and their trust digitally well before they get in the living room.
It's interesting, 5, 6, maybe even 10 years ago, I don't know how long social media's been around, but when it first came out, there was this big debate about, can you really sell property on social media? No, you can't. It's got to be an agent involved. But it's interesting. And then, of course, we saw people coming on and photographs of their dog and all that kind of stuff. We've been through all of that. But tell me, as we move on, how is social media being utilised to market property, and how is it working?
Yeah. So like you said, there's clever ways you can use social media, and whether it's to get the latest cat meme out there, or whether it's to really create that feeling and emotion and connect people to property, I think is where I see the magic happen. So with social, you can do everything from just popping your properties up as soon as they list. So they're things as well that can take agents time to sort of build that creative and content and publish that. We've really sort of honed in to be able to make sure that is done very timely and can be done automated for an agent as well. So they can focus on creating that wow content, that trust content, comes through video and comes through that education information they provide. We're getting the basics right, and that consistency is something that we can really help with here at Realty Media Group. So I think when it comes to property marketing, it's important that each property is given an opportunity to appear on social. It can be very targeted, so geographically, demographically targeted. And that's probably a strength of the business here, is around not relying on just an active portal where the buyers that are online are using those tools. We want to reach someone who's not in real estate mode yet. We want to reach someone who's just sort of curious, who's having those conversations around their Netflix episode in between finding their next one, is to ultimately determine, yes, we need a bigger house, a smaller house, or what have you. And then those properties seeking them out. I think that's the magic as well, using things like AI now to position the right property in front of the right person at the right time. And we can leverage a lot of this big data and a lot of the habits that are built and the way people search to position property in front of them rather than rely on them searching for property. So that's how I'd be using social effectively, is to make sure your properties are available. And these can be done strategically, even using things like coming soon campaigns where it's not going to damage the property's reputation in the market. As soon as you put a property online to a portal, that's captured, that's date stamped, and that price and that the way that property is being promoted is out there forever, basically. So when it comes to how can we create the best first impression for a property, sometimes it is testing the market through a social campaign, because an ad will appear and then it will disappear after that duration has run, and gives great data and insight to an agent and a consumer on getting the price right, or getting the strategy right, or testing the best image to use through the campaign. So they're all clever ways I think you can leverage social, because people are spending 80 times more of their time on social than they are actively searching on portals.
I read some stats, interesting stats about how much time people are spending online. You mentioned their portals, other portals, and, you know, elephant in the room, we've got to talk about that. Realty Media Group does actually have its own portal.
Yeah.
But I guess this is a little bit different, and I'd like you to explain why that is the case, and how you stand out from the realestate.com.au's and Domain. You know, how are you actually helping an agent become that first point of contact?
Yeah, good question. And I think it's the positioning a property further afield, really understanding the types of consumers that will have an interest in that property. Like I said, positioning that in front of them rather than relying on them discovering or finding the property. So Realty Media Group has been built for distribution, keeping that in mind, that it's about getting more eyeballs to see those properties, and doing it in a way that that traffic is basically sent wherever that agent wants. So we want the agent to feel like they have control around the data and around the way that person interacts with their business. So that's sort of where we brought in the new agent platform, is the ability for them to centralize all of their marketing efforts, to really close that loop and allow an agent to understand where someone is on their real estate journey. So whether it is buying tomorrow because they've sold a property, or whether it's just curiosity that they are thinking of selling and then looking to buy in that same suburban area, upsizing, downsizing once again. So when we can take that visitor from the agent's website, we can then keep that brand front of mind with that audience. There was a reason why they clicked through, the consumers are clicking through to agents' ads, because they're curious. They may not transact today or tomorrow, and that's what some agents struggle with, that they're always seeking that next transaction. So it is determining and helping agents to stay front of mind, build that mind share in their local markets so that it can help them grow their market share. Because every agent is obviously, it's a business, they're looking to grow, to be profitable and those sort of things. And that's where we can really fit in, is helping that agent stay front of mind during the whole time someone's
in that journey, because it is a journey, you know, and it does actually take time. And I think the shift that I've noticed as well is this move from being transactional to a relationship. And, you know, one of the, having been an agent myself, one of the big problems was what we call peaks and troughs, where, you know, you chase some listings and then you have to work like crazy to get them sold. And when you do that, you find that you need more listings, so you go through this peaks and troughs of earning. But you know, if you're building relationships and you're thinking more long term, you touched on reach and frequency there, which is a common media term. You know, constantly being out there, becoming their agent before they even need one. This seems to me to be the key for agents in doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's just so noisy online these days as well. So if you're not seen regularly and you're not adding value during this journey, like we say, you're just not going to be on the shopping list. And I think there are lots of agents to choose from in your market, and results are important. The way they market property, I believe, is super important as an ex-agent as well. Marketing was very important to me, and is why I got called in and chosen as the agent, was because of the strategy and the marketing and the urgency and competition that we can create through quality marketing. So I don't think agents spend enough time explaining that anymore to sellers, the importance of good marketing strategy. Very quickly, it's a rushed discussion to what's your commission rate and what's the marketing cost. And it leaves consumers and sellers no reason to, or a struggle to choose who to go with, because it just comes down to price, where I think there's so much more to it. And that's where I think there's really a need to understand the power of marketing, understand where consumers are spending time, and then why their property needs to be looking its best and then promoted effectively.
Well, Daniel will be back in just a moment to answer the question that's probably running through your mind right now. And that is, will this replace the two big portals that we're currently relying on to find and sell a property? Daniel will be back in just a moment to answer that. This is Realty Talk.
Property deductions can save you thousands of dollars each year. To make sure you maximise deductions, you need to work with the most experienced quantity surveyor in the country. BMT Tax Depreciation is the leading specialist in the industry. They've completed over 700,000 tax deduction schedules for residential investment and commercial properties Australia-wide. BMT guarantee to find double your fee in the first full financial year deductions. Call BMT on 1300 728 726 today for an obligation-free quote.
Hi, just before we go back to the show, I want to spend a few seconds and tell you about a book that was sent to me that's now become my go-to reference when I'm looking for inspiration about property investment. You know, sometimes it's not about knowing all the answers. It's certainly more important to know what questions to ask. This book by Rusty is called The Property Wealth Blueprint, and it's one that you don't read just once and then put it away. It stays out as a reference. It's a book that you go back to time and time again, as I do, because it's packed with personal experience and with great examples of how to get property investment right. It's very frank, it's to the point. And as you can see here, I've needed to bookmark several points, and I can tell you that it's a constant companion on my desk here. The remarkable thing is that it's absolutely free on Rusty's website, getrare.com.au. Get Rare. It's a gateway to a richer life. The website there for you again, getrare, rare.com.au. So get this book, get it for yourself.
Realty Talk exclusive to the Property Hub.
Welcome back. I continue to talk with my guest this week, Daniel Stre, about the Agent Ads profile platform for agents. It's going to help buyers and sellers understand more about their chosen agent, or in fact, how to best choose an agent. And given that Realty also has its own portal with listings from all over Australia, right now I asked Daniel if this is an attempt to replace realestate.com.au and Domain. Here's his response.
No, I think it's an or rather than an and. I think they're the things now where consumers want a place to be able to jump on and do a lot of that filtering and those sort of things. But what we also know is that in markets where conditions change and there are more listings to choose from, you need to find ways to stand out. And I think that's where the power of AI and the power of where we're really sort of leaning into is our properties seeking out the right buyer, our marketing and efforts here being able to position the right agent in front of the right seller at the right time. They're the tools and technologies that we want to really hone in on to give a point of difference. So active portals absolutely will remain, I believe. We just need to change the balance of the proportion of spend and making sure an agent is having budget and a consumer is considering budget for social media in particular.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, the seller wants their property sold. You know, the agent can direct that kind of budget, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about results. So how is it performing? When you say I assume you're saying that the portals will always have a place. But I'm just interested to know about costs. Is this going to be an additional cost, or do you see it being proportioned differently?
It's a matter of return on investment, like you said. So really measuring and understanding the value you get from each piece of your marketing. And like even print, a lot of people say print's dead. Print's making up very effective parts of agents' campaigns where it's positioned well, used strategically, timing, those sort of things of when these parts of the campaign are run. So I'm a big believer of one chance of the first impression when your property comes to market. So really sit down and understand if you want to create that level of urgency and competition and drive price up rather than driving price down, which is common in any negotiation. That the strength and position we've been in is that there's been less properties and more buyers, which often equates to higher prices automatically and growth in the market. But as we see those conditions change and that sort of thing, it's going to be more important than ever for an agent to be positioning their property above the rest. So that may mean spending the most on the portal listing. It may mean delegating a subsizable amount. And that's the sort of thing which I love about social. It can be flexible. So you might have a budget anywhere from $50, but more consistently around that sort of $500 over the set duration. So depending on the number of days on market, which you will know in your area, you may only need 2 weeks of quality marketing to really test and generate the urgency and competition and offers you need. In other markets, you may need the full 4 weeks or so of a campaign, and that might be because it's an auction as well, so you're building up to. So the flexibility of social is key as well, where a lot of the time the portal listing component can just be very much a large sum upfront, whether you need it or not. So flexibility around social media can be very much key to why I believe it plays a key role and can be brought in at different stages of campaign as well.
Yeah, because of our close relationship, I've done a considerable amount of reading about your product, and while it's about to be launched as profile platform, it seems to me that one of the big pluses is where the traffic is driven. A lot of it comes back to control by the agent. You've mentioned that term a couple of times in terms of data and lead flow and so on. As I understand it, all of this information is going to be brought together in a platform that will give the agent a lot more contact with the buyer and seller. Could you just explain a little bit more about how that works?
Ultimately a dashboard where they'll be able to see all of that interaction, whether it's just a view, which a view is going to create mind share for that agent in the consumer's mind, because their brand, their face, their content that they position in market has been seen. That's sort of where the foundation is. From there, when you are investing and running ads through a platform, very much so you can see a lot of granular detail around the analytics. So you'll be able to tell that people are seeing it on mobile. They'll be able to tell what age range is most engaging in there. You're very much able to mix it up when it comes to your campaign. You can run short, sharp blasts of a campaign as well, really changing the messaging. We're working with some of the providers in market around getting dynamic data of changing bids or changing things that are coming through on properties to then promote the property slightly different. Once again, increasing urgency and competition and driving price up in a lot of cases as well. So that's where the future, I think, lies with a lot of this, is how can we be more responsive and more dynamic in the way we deliver our advertising campaign, rather than often it's a set and forget. Maybe great photos are taken of a property, they're listed, and they don't get changed during the whole campaign. Well, we know the way Netflix do this with promotion of what you want to watch next. Based on your habits, it'll perhaps show a certain actor as the lead image on the Netflix screen for you, which makes you then want to watch that show over another, because it knows the type of shows you've watched previously. So once again, it's all of this big data coming together, but genuinely delivering insights for an agent to make better decisions, rather than just data that's hard to act on, insights that can help change a campaign or help an agent with future campaigns.
Yeah, just on that point, I do want to write, because this is a consumer type show. So I imagine the bulk of our viewers are buyers and sellers. Yeah. It seems to me this product, while it's a great benefit to agents because they'll get access to a lot more data and understand how they can market a property better, a consumer probably isn't going to see a lot of this product, but they will certainly benefit from it because of the education it's giving them. Have I read that correctly?
Yeah, you have. But also, I think, don't be afraid to ask an agent around some of the statistics and data that's available, because if they don't know it, they should be able to find out. And this is where tools like what we're bringing to market is. It'd be quite reasonable for an agent to show this to a potential seller and give them the confidence of why they should be considering this part of their marketing strategy as social, and why this amount of money is going to be best spent on social based on case studies results that they've achieved. So that's where I think our platform will evolve and perhaps give the agent the ability to compile these case studies and deliver that information in the living room. So whether that's on their phone screen, on a tablet screen, or those sort of things, or be able to share that after an appraisal, after an opportunity where they've sat down to discuss the value of the property.
Daniel, it's great talking to you. Thank you so much. For any agents, well, I know we do have some agents watching the show. If you'd like to make contact, is there a website?
Yeah, we do. We do have a website. So our agentads.io website.
Good on you. Daniel Stre, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Successful property investment is a game of finance. Do you have the right team and the right game plan? Realty Talk is brought to you by Know How Property. More than mortgage brokers, Bushy Martin and his team of investment architects set you up with a sustainable strategy structured to lower your costs, tax, risk and stress while increasing your capacity for growth. Know-how has helped over 1,900 homeowners and investors secure more than $800 million in property wealth. So get set to live more, work less, and live your legacy. Want to know how to invest in your freedom? Visit knowhowproperty.com.au. Subscribe now to Realty Talk. It's out every week.
And that brings us to the end of this week's show. A big thanks to Daniel Stre from Realty Media Group. Make sure you don't miss a single episode of Realty Talk or Bushy's Get Invested podcast delivered to you each week. And you'll do that by subscribing to the Property Hub now on your favourite podcast player or wherever you're listening to or watching this show. Thanks to our supporters and content partners, Realty.com.au, BMT, Tax Depreciation, Know How Property Finance, Get Rare Property, and Apiro Marketing. I'm Kevin Turner, and on behalf of Bushy Martin and the Property Hub team, we look forward to seeing you again next week.